23 past the hour. Here with us now, Republican candidate for U.S. Senate in Virginia, Ed Gillespie. Ed.
It's great to have you here, Ed.
Good to be with you.
We're going to have to ask you the tough questions. You should have listened to Ryan Priebus and only gone to safe, comfortable news outlets, because I'm going to ask you a very tough question.
We're about to grill you.
Excellent.
Soccer.
Yeah.
Good for America or bad for America? A lot of right-wingers came out yesterday, said it's bad for America.
I missed that, but I think
I will save you the columns.
It's unbelievable, actually.
Well, I've been thrilled watching it. I love it. I played soccer in high school, but when I was in high school, when you played soccer, it was because you couldn't make the football team. Yeah. Now, people play soccer because America's good at it, and I'm really excited to watch it.
How's it going out on the campaign trail?
Campaign trail's great. I love it. We've got a lot of enthusiasm and intensity, energy out there. A lot of young people are flocking to the campaign, which gives it a very good feel and a future-oriented, sense to it, which is great. And we're standing up for what we believe in and running on a positive agenda of economic growth.
Yeah. So why are you running?
Well, I'm worried about the future of the country. I think we're at a pretty critical point, and I believe if we could get control of the United States Senate for the last 2 years of the Obama presidency, which I think my winning in Virginia would do, that you could have an immediate, positive, beneficial impact.
More specifically, what has Mark Warner done to deserve to be fired?
Well, he hasn't been the independent voice for us in Virginia that he said he would be. He's voted with President Obama 97% of the time since taking office. Hasn't been a fiscal moderate like he said he would be. He's supported $7 trillion in new debt, nearly $1 trillion in new taxes, voted against a balanced budget amendment after saying he'd be for one when he first ran for the Senate. He's not been the pro-business Democrat that he said he would be.
He's ahead in the polls. What's the strategy? He's doing quite well, at least at this point.
Well, actually, if you look at the Real Clear Politics website and their average of all of the polls, he's under 50% on the ballot tests. He's got 100% name ID. Mark Warner's been governor in Virginia. He's been the senator in Virginia. And when you can't break 50% in that regard, you're in serious trouble, and I think he is.
You've ruined Republican politics. Every strategist I meet now tells me that someday they're going to run for public office. So you set a bad example. I'm going to get into some issues with you. One that's been discussed a lot, minimum wage. You say states should decide what the level should be. Why should there be a federal minimum wage law at all? Why should the federal government get involved in setting any minimum, whatever level it's set?
Well, I think the states are making decisions about raising minimum wage. In Maryland, for example, they just raised the minimum wage recently. In Virginia, we have not. And, we'll see what the difference is relative to job creation and employment rates and unemployment rates in those two neighboring states. And I don't believe in a federally mandated increase in the minimum wage.
But an increase. Why should the federal government tell any state what their minimum wage should be?
Well, I don't think they should tell any state what their minimum wage should be. But states are allowed to go above.
Get away with the federal minimum wage.
I'm sorry. No, I'm not in favor of repealing the federal minimum wage.
No. If you're against,
because I think there's a floor there and it's set and it's already absorbed into the marketplace. And but I think the states, if they want, or by the way, municipalities or cities as well. But we know from the Congressional Budget Office that the minimum wage increase that Senator Warner and others support would destroy 500,000 jobs. Now, there are some folks who make minimum wage who are head of household. I think it's about 3%, Mark. And if those people are having a hard time making ends meet because of they're not making enough on the minimum wage, we should help them. But we can help them without destroying those jobs and without destroying the other 97%, who have jobs that are oftentimes second jobs or entry-level jobs.
We've got like 6 major companies now of recent who've raised the minimum wage even within. So they're finding a way to do it without hurting their profits and their bottom line. Why? I don't understand why your position can't be that it should be raised to an extent.
Like I said, if the states want to raise it, and by the way, that's great if in the marketplace those companies are raising minimum wage. By the way, if we had... we have the lowest labor force participation rate right now in 36 years. Our economy contracted by nearly 3 full percentage points last quarter. What we need to be doing is everything we can to be encouraging job creation, including entry-level jobs. Everywhere I go, when I go around the Commonwealth, I ask people, well, but what I said, Mika, is we can help folks. If it's impossible to live on it, let's help them, but let's help them without destroying jobs. The worst thing about this administration's policies that Mark Warner has supported 97% of the time since taking office is not just that they're killing jobs, it's that they're destroying the work ethic. Long-term, that's a bigger possible problem for us as a country, because we know there's not just economic value in labor. There's human dignity in work. Well, and we need to make it easier for people to get that first job. And when you destroy 500,000 of those jobs, you're making it harder to get on the first rung of the economic ladder.
Speaking of a lack of dignity and no work ethic, John Heilman has a question.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question that gets to the heart of your, both, as Mark alluded to, a political strategist now running as a candidate. Virginia is a state that has become kind of the quintessential swing state, right? President Obama won it in 2008. He won it in 2012. Yeah. Terry McAuliffe won it just a year ago. People say Virginia's now kind of becoming a blue state, and part of the reason is because the demographics of the state have changed so much. Big growth of the Hispanic population. That was something you urged Governor Romney to pay attention to in 2012. How do you break that lock that's hurt Republicans? What do you have to do as a candidate to get at some of the growing segments of that demographic that you need to win there?
Well, you know, John, I'm running on called EG squared, which is Ed Gillespie for economic growth. If you're for economic growth, you're for Ed Gillespie. That's a message that I can take everywhere, every corner of the Commonwealth, every segment of the electorate. If you go on my website, edforsenate.com, cheap plug, edforsenate.com, and you see my videos, one click of a mouse, they have a Spanish language version. I have a Korean language version of my biography video on that website as well. I was in the largest Korean church in the Commonwealth on Sunday, worshiping there and visiting with the congregants after the worship service. And I'm taking my message everywhere because I believe it resonates everywhere. Everywhere I go, people are concerned about lost jobs, lower take-home pay, higher health care costs, higher energy prices, and I've put forward a positive agenda. I rolled out the energy policies for it yesterday. It's a 5-point agenda for economic growth, and yesterday I put out the specifics on the energy plan.
Ed, a couple quick questions for you. First of all, why did Eric Cantor lose?
You know, I think there's a number of factors there, and I've given up the political analysis business. But I think a lot of it was unique to the 7th District. I do believe there is a very strong anti-incumbent sentiment all across Virginia, and it's not limited to Republican primary voters, Joe. It is much broader than that. A lot of independents, a lot of Democrats very frustrated with what's going on in Washington, D.C. today, and I think that's to my advantage in November.
Were you glad Thad Cochran won his primary in Mississippi?
You know, again, I'm focused on one race and one race only.
One Senate race. But you've got I know you went like this when Thad won, or you were disappointed.
You know, I really, as far as I'm concerned, you know, I'm not as concerned about these intra-party fights that a lot of my fellow Republicans are. I think that people getting involved in the process, the energy they bring. I had to fight for my nomination in a convention. That was good for me. It was good for our party. We unified our party afterward, and a lot of new people got involved in the process.
That's a good thing. We're talking about Republican civil wars, maybe leaving the Republican Party.
I don't see that. I tell you, what I see in Virginia, Joe, is a lot of concern about if President Obama continues to have a blank check for the last 2 years of his administration, given all the steps he's taken. We need a check and balance, and Republicans in Virginia, whether they came in through a Tea Party door or a Libertarian door or a traditional county unit door, are very unified about the importance of this election and winning in November.
Final question. Terry McAuliffe is in a big fight over Medicaid expansion in the state of Virginia. Do you support Medicaid expansion or not?
No, I'm with the Speaker in Virginia and the Republicans in the legislature who I think are rightly concerned about expanding Obamacare in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And
but this is Medicaid expansion, though.
I understand. I think
it's different from Obamacare. There are a lot of poor people in the state of Virginia and across America that need access to health care. Wouldn't this help them?
And Joe, I think we can help them without expanding Obamacare in Virginia, which is what this comes down to. And I think long term, I do not believe the federal government is going to be there at the end of the day, and they're going to put the taxpayers of Virginia on the hook for something that they're not going to follow through with at the end of the day. And I think Virginians are rightly concerned about that, and also concerned about those who are least among us and finding a way to help them without policies with negative consequences.
We got to go. Final question. What's been your biggest surprise? Being in front of the camera, being on the stump, actually being
I see
sort of in the middle of the fight.
Total difference. You're like, it's like part of...
What's the biggest surprise?
I wasn't sure how much I'd like it. I mean, there are a lot of reasons I got into it. I talked about them a little bit today. I'm very worried about the future of the country, and it turns out I love it. So that's a pleasant surprise. Yeah, it's a long day. It would be a miserable existence if you didn't like it.
I know. All right, Ed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Coming up.